What is going on, YouTube? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards here for a quick little NFL video. At least I hope it's quick. I always say they're fast. They never end up being fast, but I think this one will be. We're going to talk a little football, and we're going to talk specifically PSA 9s. So this will be a football / PSA 9 video. One of the questions I get a lot is, should I buy a PSA 9? Are PSA 9s okay to buy? Should I only save up and go for 10s? That sort of thing. So today I'm going to give a couple quick thoughts on PSA 9s, a couple examples. And also, while researching for this video, I found a couple undervalued, what I think are undervalued PSA 9s. So I'm going to talk about how you can kind of extract value that way as well, and show a little bit of that too. So like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. Guys and girls know the drill. Market Movers links down there if you want to check out Market Movers. That's where we're using all these fancy tools from. So if you're wondering where all these graphs and charts and ratios come from, Market Movers, links in the description below. And don't forget the eBay affiliate link. If you are going to make any purchases, please click the affiliate link. I get a very small portion. So let's get into it. So like I said in the preamble, one of the most common questions I get is it okay to buy PSA 9s? The answer is absolutely yes. In almost all cases, the PSA 9 will go up with the PSA 10. Now, in a lot of cases, the PSA 9 will sometimes lag behind, but it almost always catches up and maintains some form of equilibrium with the PSA 10. So we're going to make this football focused. The NFL draft was last night. I'm recording this slightly before the NFL draft. So the only thing that I know that has happened so far at the time of recording of this video is all the Aaron Rodgers shenanigans and watching Jordan Love prices go up on Star Stock. They're climbing so fast, it looks like there's steam coming out of my monitor. So Kyler Murray here, for example, we have his PSA 10 Prizm, and I pulled, for full disclosure, pulled these charts running from January 1st through today, just because it felt like a good time to pick. January 1st seemed nice and clean. His PSA 10 Prizm is up 53%, from 365 to 560. Okay. His PSA 9, meanwhile, went from 113 to 165 for 46%. Very close to the same increase. Now you're going to go, well, wait, one went up $200, one went up $53. Sure. But the theory is when you're buying 9s is either A, you can't afford the 10, or maybe you want multiples. So in this case, you could have bought 3 PSA 9s for $330 ish, fees, taxes. We're not going to count any of that stuff in because we're going to assume that's going to affect regardless which one of these you're going to buy. So let's say you spent around $330, $335 on this, and you basically made $50 a card. And you spent, like I said, $330. A PSA 10 runs you $365. So you saved $30 right there. Now the PSA 10 went up a little bit more. You made $195 on that, as opposed to, let's call it $150 down here. You spent a little less, but you kind of get the point. They basically went up about the same rate. So even if you bought 1.9, the percentage changes the same. So if you're just getting started out and you don't have a big budget, find players that you like, make the correct plays, make the correct buys, buy the right player, the right brand, etc. And it's perfectly fine to do that in a PSA 9. They're easier to sell. They're a cheaper price point. They're slightly more liquid. You also appeal to a wider audience because the price point's a lot lower, especially on stuff like this. And in 9 times out of 10, they will go up very close to or similar to the same rate as a 10. So you made about a 50% return regardless which one of these you bought, the 10 or the 9. Now, you could have got cute and bought multiple 9s and did it that way. That's perfectly fine. Or you could have just bought one because that's your price point. So that's to answer the question of what do I think about PSA 9s? My answer is always, I love them. I love PSA 9s. Love, 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 love them. Lower price point. They usually go up about the same. And they're cheaper to get into. Now, one of the other questions I always get is about how much more is a 9 than a 10, or a 10 than a 9, rather. In general, it's a little over 3x. 3 to 3.25 to 3.3, 3.1, somewhere in there. So this, and Market Movers does have a handy little ratios button. Click this, and it just does the math for me. Now, you could do this math on a calculator in your head, pretty simple, but it's nice just to be able to click a tab and just see it, especially when you're comparing a bunch of different cards. So this one's 3.23. That is about right where I would expect it to be. Now, you do have to be a little smart about this and pay attention to the population count differences. We're going to talk about, and you're going to see a perfect example of this play out in the next set of cards we're going to look at. Under normal circumstances, around that low 3x mark is where it should be. And like I said before, one of the ways that you could find value is find PSA 10s that have shot way up. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes people forget about the 9s. The 9 market moves a little slower. And if you're paying attention to this stuff because you're using a tool like Market Movers, or you just track this stuff on a spreadsheet, or whatever, you use Chutes and Ladders to track it, doesn't make a difference. As long as you're using something, you could find trends like this quicker than other people and maybe jump on something. So with that being said, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at a bunch of guys from the 2018 class, and we're going to see two examples of guys being undervalued, in my opinion, in PSA 9, and one that looks undervalued, but might not actually be when you take it a step further. All right, so let's pop over to the 2018 class. We're going to look at Lamar, Josh Allen, and my boy Baker Mayfield. So the three darlings of the 18 class, if you will. Let's start with Lamar Jackson, because that's the interesting one. So we come down here to Lamar Jackson. We see, and once again, this is January 1st through 4/29. His PSA 10 is up 17% in that time. Not a huge jump, but it's up 17%. His PSA 9 is down 13%. Huh? Interesting. The other thing that you'll notice is his PSA 10 is going for almost $900. His PSA 9 is going for $175. That is a lot bigger than 3.23 or 3.25 or whatever you want to use. 3 something X. That's more like, what is that? Almost 4.75, 5X, I think. Let me look. Why guess when I could just click the magic button? Lamar Jackson, 5.04 is the difference there. Now, you might just look at that and go, man, I need to load up on Lamar Jackson PSA 9s in Prizm. Wait a second. Hold your horses. Don't click the eBay affiliate link down below just quite yet. Come over here and look at pop counts. For whatever reason, and I've heard this before, I've kind of forgot that it was this far off. His PSA, his base Prizm, I don't know what they were doing in the factory that day. It is one of the tougher grades out of 18 Prizm. Look at the population count difference between these couple players. Lamar's PSA 10, there's only 546 of them, and he's the most graded player in the class. His PSA 9, there is 2,500 of. That is an insane difference. Now, look at Josh Allen. Same set, same year, same everything. 937 10s, 1,000 9s. So almost dead even. Baker, 854 10s, 11, just under 1,200 9s. A little bit of a wider gap, but still pretty close. And then you look at this Lamar Jackson one. 546 to 2,500. In my opinion, you know, these numbers show that this is actually probably right. There's no real math equation for this. I'm just gut reactioning it. Because there are so few 10s, it should have a wider spread than the normal 3.25x. Maybe the 9's a little undervalued, just a little, but there are way more of them. It's very easy to find that 9 compared to a 10. 10 is very hard to find. Very tough grade. So when you're doing the whole whatever X, I find it's very important before you just run out and blindly do something stupid is look at other players or other cards from the same year, same set, because this stuff can vary. And every once in a while, you get a weird outlier like this Lamar Jackson thing. So let's look at the two that I actually think are a little undervalued. And that's Baker and Josh Allen's PSA 9s. So once again, these charts go from January 1 through 4/29. Baker's PSA 10 has gone up 130%. $275 is the number it's gone up profit-wise. It's gone from $200 to $485. God, why didn't I buy more of these when they were $200? His 9 went from $71 to $135 for a 90% change. So right there, this immediately to me is like, wait a second, 130% change, 90% change. That doesn't seem right. Now, sometimes this will get a little funky because it just depends on, like, was there a sale, especially on lower pop count stuff? So maybe not so much this case, but like a PSA 10 sells and then a PSA 9 doesn't sell for like 2 weeks. So the starting points are a little bit different. Same with the end points. Sometimes they don't line up on the same day. And if a market's moving fast on something, it could cause things to shift a little bit. But in general, this immediately is a red flag, or not a red flag, but a flag to me to say, I need to look a little closer at this. So if we go over here and look at the ratios for Baker, they're at 3.59. So his PSA 9 at 135 is probably a little undervalued. It probably should be right around 150-ish to slightly over 150-ish. Give or take. There's some wiggle room there. His stuff's continuing to climb. So I think anything like 150 and lower is a perfectly fine buy, just given the fact that his market is ascending. If you look at, let's see, Baker is the blue line on this chart. He's actually flattened out a little bit here the last few days, but you can see he had a little run up here the last about 2-3 weeks where he's been cruising right along. But really, since the first of the year, he's been a steady trend line going up. And the 9's followed, but not as quickly. The other one that we really notice, and this one is way out of whack, in my opinion, is the Josh Allen PSA 9. So here's his PSA 10. Back on January 1st on New Year's Day, it was going for a little over $700. It is currently selling for about $1,150. That's a $400 and let's just call it $50 change for a 61% increase. His PSA 9 has stayed flat. $220 at the start, $235 presently for a whopping 6% change. When we go back and look at the ratios for Josh Allen, almost 5x. Now, that's what Lamar was, slightly over 5x. But the difference is the devil's in the details here. The pop count on Lamar Jackson, 546 compared to 2,500 on the 9's. On the Josh Allen, it's balanced. 937 PSA 10s, just 1042 PSA 9s. Very close, very even. Those scales balance out a little bit. Lamar Jackson's are tilted all to one side and basically fell over. So Baker PSA 9 feels like a pretty decent buy at anything around 150 or under. Probably anything closer to 150, you're probably getting market rate. And that's not a huge difference, but that adds up, especially if you're buying multiples. If you can get a bunch at 135 to 150 and you stockpile them and then they go up as a unit. Plus, the other nice thing about having multiples is you could be a little more risque with them, if you will. I talk about that all the time on the channel, and I'm going to have a really good example of this coming up probably in a video early next week where I kind of put this practice into place to give you a real world example. I talk about it all the time, but I think it's easier to see the numbers and actual cards. You buy 3 or 4, 5 PSA 9s if that's your game instead of one PSA 10. You're into it for a little bit more, but it gives you the leeway to be a little risky. If stuff spikes way up for whatever reason, the Browns make a big trade in the offseason or the Bills make a big trade in the offseason, you can sell a few off for what I would assume would be an increased profit. But since you have multiples, maybe you have 4 PSA 9s instead of 110, you could sell off 2 of them, make 20, 30, 40% off the 9, whatever it increases. And then you start paying off those other 2 that you have remaining, lowering the cost basis on them. And then you have those 2, maybe you sell another one because it went up another 10% or something, whatever. And then the season comes around and now you're into the 4th one for practically nothing. So you could either sell it and get out of it and completely just take the profits and run, or you can get a little cute. You can get a little risky. And you could run that one into the season. Once again, you could do that maybe because you could buy, maybe you only have $1,000 to spend on football. Well, you could buy, in Josh Allen's case, almost 5 PSA 10s, or PSA 9s rather, almost 5 PSA 9s. You get 4, maybe something else. 4 and have some wiggle room, or 1 PSA 10. With 1 PSA 10, it makes your selling decision a lot harder. Whereas if you have multiple PSA 9s, you have different ways you can attack it. And once again, I'll do an in-depth video about my mindset on buying and selling that stuff in a video next week. But once again, I just kind of wanted to show here a couple different things. 1, yes, PSA 9s, 100% viable. 2, how to find value in PSA 9s. You mean if the PSA 9, like if you like Kyler Murray, it is perfectly fine to go out and buy this PSA 9. Nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly fine play. But there are other ways you can attack the PSA 9 markets in regards to things that have gotten off kilter somewhere along the way, much like this Josh Allen experience here. Legitimately, this should probably be much closer to, I'm going to call that like a $300 card, give or take. Yeah, really, that should be almost like between a $300 and $350 card to get you to that 3.25 number. And like I said, that number is not gospel, but it's a general good rule of thumb. So really anything on this card upwards to 300 is probably a pretty good deal. I don't know what's out there. Let's check really quick. Here's some auctions ending. Once again, this is right before the draft. So there's a buy it now for $359. That one seems appropriately priced. Buy it now, $289. Buy it now, $275. $300 best offer, $300 best offer. That's a select bunch of auctions. So you could get this card for under $300. Buy it now, right now. There's some that are definitely higher, but there are definitely some lower, and there are some best offers you might be able to wiggle some room with. But yeah, once again, just to summarize, that's kind of the ways that I like to play in the PSA 9 market / attack it. Whether it's Star Stock, eBay, whatever it is that you're looking for. If I think about it, I'll put eBay affiliate links in the description of the video that are just generic PSA 9 searches for Allen Baker to save you guys a little bit of time. You can just click that. I'll take you right to the eBay search if you just kind of want to peruse. But as always, these are my methods. They do not have to be your methods. Do your homework. Run the numbers yourself. See what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I do something wrong here? Did I do something right? Let me know down below. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.